The interstate highway system, it's connected us and expanded our horizons in ways never imagined just decades ago, but it can be dangerous, claiming thousands of lives every year. So when our children reach the age to drive on that interstate system, we take definite measures to protect them from the dangers. In more recent years, our horizons have been expanded by another amazing system, the information highway, the internet. That system, too, has brought some very real physical and emotional dangers, but too often, when children reach the age to navigate that highway, those responsible for their care turn them loose without equipping them to avoid the dangers. We must accept the responsibility of protecting our children online.
And there's more evidence of internet predators targeting children in Arkansas for sex.
And in 40 hours, we found 20 men that were willing to make sex dates with these 13 and 14-year-old girls.
They are cunning, they are devious, they are calculating. They can go on that internet and sooner or later find someone who is trusting, some child who will share information about themselves and agree to meet.
Siobhan ran away to Paris with a man that she met on the internet. The danger of internet predators is far greater than many imagine.
As the Victims Assistance Coordinator of Citizens for Community Values, I hear about children being exposed to explicit pornography every day. We are all concerned about this intrusion into our homes, schools, and libraries. Parents need to be aware that there are ways to protect and prepare our children to live in this sex-saturated society. We all know that smoking, drugs, and alcohol can damage the physical health of a child. Pornography at an early age can affect their minds and their attitudes for healthy sexuality. No matter where you live or how hard you try to protect your child, it is not a matter of if they will be exposed to hardcore pornography on the internet, but when.
90% of all children in the U.S. will encounter pornography on the internet at one time or another. Should we even try to protect them from these images? Just how much can the internet really affect our children's lives? What can we do to help make the internet a safer place for our children? What should we do when we discover that a child has been looking at pornography on the internet? Internet safety is a very serious problem for our children. The average age of exposure to pornography now is 9 years old. One recent survey showed that 9 out of every 10 kids ages 8 to 16 years old have viewed pornography online, most often unintentionally when using the internet to do homework. And the physical changes that take place in the brain during the childhood and teen years compound the effect that pornography can have on a young person's mental and emotional well-being.
In the brain of a teenager, an adolescent, there is less of the monitoring or the regulating part of the brain. The prefrontal cortex is not yet fully developed. So in essence, the teenager does not have in place the prefrontal cortex monitoring system. What's in place big time is the emotional part of the brain, which is flooded with testosterone, flooded with hormones. The sex drive is active, curiosity is very high, but the monitoring of those highly charged emotions is not in place yet. So what happens in the brain early in life, there's a proliferation of pathways, neural circuitry, and then later there's a pruning of the ones that aren't used very much. And in the pruning process, if a person's been engaging in looking at pictures instead of learning to talk to people and relate to people, the picture watching process will be strong pathways, and interpersonal communications will be a neural pathway that will wither up and go away. And what the teenager needs to learn to do is to find a way to do the hard things: math, sports, music, engaging in conflict with their peer group, learning interpersonal communication. Those things are difficult, and so if a person can choose between pleasure and doing some hard things, they will tend toward vegging out, watching films, watching a website. And what happens is they spend time developing these pathways, and the regulatory pathways are not being developed. So teachers, parents, friends, and people that put stuff on the internet need to help monitor this material, because for the adolescent brain, it's very damaging, potentially addicting to them.
When you think about the fact that the number of pornographic web pages now tops 260 million, with 25 to 30 million being added every month, coupled with the fact that children have access to the internet in virtually every public school today, in most public libraries, and that 70% of the homes in America are connected to the internet, internet protection is not an option. It is unquestionably a necessity. Boundaries have to be established for kids. For their own safety, unrestricted access to the internet just cannot be allowed. Parents and educators must put some measures in place to protect children when they are online.
When you think of internet safety, your mind probably goes first to the mental and emotional dangers of viewing pornography. But there are other dangers of the internet that present a very serious physical threat to our children.
Along with the harmful material that you can access on the internet, online communication may well be the most dangerous. This would include email, chat rooms, internet messaging, message boards, and blogging. These are the most common ways to communicate online. But children often don't realize that the internet is an open, anonymous community, and people are not always who they say they are online.
You know, when your kids are online, they may be in more danger than you think.
A Texas man visiting the tri-state is under arrest for soliciting sex with a minor on the internet.
The danger of internet predators is far greater than many imagine.
A Cincinnati man is charged with trying to solicit sex from what he thought was a 14-year-old girl.
And there's more evidence of internet predators targeting children in Arkansas for sex.
Today, a judge sentenced Jeffrey Abels to 2 years probation and labeled him a sexual offender.
The danger to children posed by internet predators is so great that the police departments in many major metropolitan areas have had to establish special units to deal with the problem. In Cincinnati, Ohio, the Regional Electronics Computer Intelligence Unit was set up when Hamilton County Sheriff Cy Lease first became aware of this growing problem in 1991. That unit continues today with a large full-time staff of technology specialists who use state-of-the-art technology to catch predators seeking minors on the internet.
Well, the last 3 or 4 years of my FBI career, working this task force of internet crimes against children, I would pose as a child on the internet, usually a 12 or 13-year-old. So what we did on the task force was assume the young girl's identity and start writing posing as her, and then when the person set up a meeting, then we would go to meet the person. He was thinking, of course, he was coming to meet a young girl for sexual purposes, and the arrest was made at a location that the person set up to meet the girl for that purpose.
We wanted to see how big the problem was of sexual predators online, and so what we did was we rented some houses around Metro Detroit, and we went online posing as 13 and 14-year-old girls. We were online for 40 hours, and in 40 hours we found 20 men that were willing to make sex dates with these 13 and 14-year-old girls. And then we found 16 of these men were actually willing to drive over to the house and approach the front door, some bringing alcohol, some bringing cigarettes, hoping to have sex with a 13 or 14-year-old girl.
Kevin, are you telling me in only 40 hours of conducting your sting operation, you had 13, 14 grown men coming over to have sex with what they thought were 13-year-old girls?
16 men showed up at our door in 40 hours of chat time, hoping to have sex with what they thought were minor kids. While their parents were home, they would say, is anyone going to be there? No, my mom's going to be at the store. My dad's out of town. They'd say, great, I can be over in 20 minutes. They'd jump in their car, drive across town, hoping to have sex with a kid.
So it's